The purpose of this video is to show you how to safely and carefully use JJs, okay? Alright, first of all, I just pulled my JJs out of the cooler. There is no ice in the cooler. I keep it in here. Today it's, you know, going to get up into the 90s. I keep it in the cooler or in a hatch out of the sun if I'm when I'm not using it. Okay, I store it in a little box. Looks like this. This box is a index card box, one that like your mom puts recipes and things like in. You get it at Walmart. Dirt cheap. One of the myths that I've heard out there is that JJ's dissolves plastic boxes. No, it doesn't. It dyes them, but it doesn't dissolve them. This is my second box. I have a buddy that's had his for same thing, same exact box for about 4 years. There's JJ spilt all on the bottom of it because he's a klutz, and there's, you know, it doesn't dissolve plastic. I'm going to show you what I do when the bottles are hot. Now the key is when the bottles get warm is do everything in slow motion. If you do everything in slow motion, you won't have any spills, you won't have any problems, okay? So what I do is I hold the bottle and I wait till it stops sloshing. See how the bottle, you're sitting there holding it and it sloshes around? I wait till it stops sloshing. Most of the time, I'll sit there and I'll actually put it on the deck. Or I'll lay my rag out and I'll put it on my rag, okay? And I'll let it stop sloshing, and then I'll very slowly open it up and let the pressure come out, just like that. Okay, lay the lid down, dip my plastic, slowly put the lid back on, and screw it on snug. I'll also dip my plastic and let it dry, and you know, it's on the hook and the hook's on the line and everything else, and I'll just drop it over the side of the boat and let it fall down in the water. All right, now I want to talk about how I use JJs. What I have here is my Carolina rig rod. Okay, and it's just got a little green pumpkin trick worm on it. Okay. And first thing I always do is I want to cover up my human scent. Once again, very slowly. This has only been sitting out in the sun for about 2 minutes. And it's already pressurizing. And it's not so much the heat, it's more of the change in temperature. Now, I dip it in the clear and pull it back out. Let it do its little drip. And it takes 10 or 15 seconds for it to dry on the plastic. And I put the bottle back in the box. Okay. Now, here's your options. You can either use a towel, paper towel, something, and I always keep one in my box, and you can dip over top of it, or you can dip over top of the box. Okay. Now, get my chartreuse out, put it down on the towel, slowly open it. You'll hear it pressurize. Oh, just a little bit. Now, notice on this Carolina rig that I've already put the weight over top of the boat, over the side of the boat. Okay. I dip it in the chartreuse, and I throw it over the side of the boat. So I've got my color and I've got my scent. Okay. For colors and scents, JJ's comes in, and actually we've got a new color this year, but let me go ahead and go through the colors. Comes in clear, chartreuse, oops, let's wait for that one, methylate, and blue. Okay. And the new color this year is blood red. I mean, that stuff is absolutely amazing. I love that color. Okay, let's talk about storage of JJs. Now, like I said earlier, I store mine in a little box, okay? When it's hot outside, I either keep it in a hatch or keep it in the cooler. If it's really hot like this, you know, like it'll get into the high 90s. You know, this is Georgia. Georgia gets pretty warm. I'll actually put it on ice and just keep it cool. But this box is ideal. I don't worry too much about the bottles breaking. The glass doesn't break. It's the lids that break. So I want to protect it from bouncing around and breaking the lids. But that's, you know, that very rarely happens unless you're just crazy. But I shove a rag down in my box to keep them from bouncing around or falling down, and I just close them up. Now, things not to do: don't keep it in your truck or your car. It gets way too hot. Don't leave it in your boat. A good place to put it is in a small cooler like this, and then just leave it in your garage. Okay, that'll keep you and your wife happy. She won't smell it. My wife cannot stand to go in my garage because I've got several bottles of JJ's in a drawer, but that's where I keep it, and it stays cool and doesn't evaporate out as quickly. Now, if you store it over a 2-3 year period, it eventually the chemical, the base chemical, eventually evaporates out through the lid. It just happens. Hopefully, you've used it up in a year and a half time. Other ways that people store them that I've heard of is they in their boat is I know a guy that keeps it in a little kid's cooler, a little lunch box that the kids take to school, and has one of those blue frozen ice boxes that he puts in there and keeps it cool. I used to have a black latchable little chest that was the exact same size as this, and that's where I kept my bottles of JJ's. The storage options are pretty much endless. Just the biggest thing is just keep them from rattling around too much. Be very slow at opening it and very slow at dipping and closing. Just be careful with it. It's not going to explode. What it does is when it gets way too hot, it starts to it'll pressurize, and as you slosh around, as your boat moves or as your vehicle moves, that pressure will push the dye out through the lid. My red one has done that a little bit because I left it underneath my console for several days, and you can see where it's just leached out slowly, but there's still a lot of dye in there, but it's leached out slowly, and that's what it'll do. It'll leach out into your case, and that's why you keep it in plastic. If you want to get JJ's, the best place to get it is on their website at www.jjsmagic.com. You can also find their website through bassresource.com. They're one of our advertisers. And if you're just careful when you dip JJ's, like I said, you shouldn't have a problem. Just make sure it's not sloshing. Do everything in slow motion. Store it correctly, and your life will be a lot easier, I promise. Thank you.